Hey guys, my name's Sam and welcome to the Driving Home Reviews podcast. This is a podcast that features mine and my girlfriend Hannah's unfiltered, spoiler-filled thoughts about films we've just seen on the drive home. Just a heads up, there's a lot of strong language, full spoilers, obviously, and a lot of comments about what we see on the road, so we hope you enjoy. Also, I'll be back at the end to wrap it all up. This week we saw In the Earth, a trippy psychological thriller/horror set in the midst of a pandemic, oi oi, and stars Joel Fry as a scientist travelling to some remote woods in search of some of his science friends and some sciencey answers to some science questions. But let's find out what we thought.
What the fuck was that? Other than, oh my god, that was fucking dog shite.
What the fuck was that?
Oh my god. Do you know what it is? You just get, like, people just go, oh yeah, I don't actually understand it.
Oh god, don't.
Oh my god. I'm like, just fuck off, because shut the fuck up. That's why.
Shit.
It's fucking dog shit.
Oh shit.
Oh my god.
The thing is, it was a really, like, unoriginal idea. That they just tried to
chuck everything in.
tried to make it, like, relevant to the world we're living in now.
Cause pandemic.
Yeah.
But also, nothing
like,
fucking to do with it.
No.
Then does it? Does it? Does it? Does it?
It doesn't. But she was
But
trying
does
to
it?
imply, like, it did, didn't she, when she was
Oh, do you
like,
want to go that way? Because that way shot.
it's not shut, I've just looked.
Oh, perfect.
I've just checked.
Yeah, that whole bit at the beginning where he's like, oh well, I'm from Bristol. Oh, and he's like, oh yeah, better fucking quarantine you for a day.
I need to spray you down.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, yeah, so you're doing more. I was like, in this film, they're doing more fucking disinfectant stuff than they did in the whole of the UK when it came to the pandemic.
Literally.
And this is one bloke going into a fucking cabin on his own
Yeah.
for fucking 10
About
days. or
5
whatever.
other people in there.
Oh my god, what?
It felt
Just
very.
making sure it's still recording.
It felt very like it took you out of it, didn't it? It's like when bloody Emmerdale and Coronation Street when they're like wearing masks and
you're
stuff,
like,
and it's like, oh well, I don't really want to be reminded about the pandemic, but
Yeah,
thanks for
like-
that. Like,
But it was like,
but then they kind of worked it into the rest of the story, didn't they?
but they didn't need to.
No, they didn't.
They didn't need to in the slightest. Other than them being like, oh, cause pandemic, which I feel was basically for the trailers.
Yeah.
Because that lasted about what? 2 minutes? And then they
Well,
were
yeah,
like,
exactly,
and then it was like, oh, we're going to talk about this pandemic that's going on in the film? Nope. It's just, oh, we're going to go have a walk. You know what also really pissed me off from the start? Is, you know, when he was it at the start? I can't remember. Oh no. So, yeah, so he went and did his quarantine. And they just sort of blitzed the fucking clip through that. They were like, yep, well, we're not going to talk about pandemic. And then it was like, oh, by the way, here's this spooky deity thing that's probably going to turn up in the film.
Yeah.
Which, spoiler alert, fucking, it doesn't.
Doesn't.
It's
Yeah.
like, oh, here's the fucking
Pragan.
Margan, or whatever the fuck it was. I'm going to fucking clue.
That wasn't on the map, was it?
I didn't say it was shit on the map earlier. I wouldn't. Nah, fuck it. We'll just whiz back around and do it the other way. Alright. Do you know where you're going? Why don't you just go back around and around?
No, I need to go up and left, follow it for the A14 and then I'll keep on it. Junction 12.
Alright. But yeah, that fucking. Yeah, and it was like, you better believe there's a bit of a weird cult thing going on in this forest.
Of course.
And it was like.
You do get that from the trailer though, don't you?
Oh, I couldn't really remember the trailer.
Yeah. All I got from the trailer was culty situation
you know the ones.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
You know the ones I mean.
I know the ones you mean.
Like, they weren't cops, they were just murderers.
Just murderers,
So,
yeah. Just straight up
cool,
crazy
whatever.
murderers.
Yeah, and then. Okay.
But yeah, murderers.
Yeah, just murderers. And then, yeah, and then that was it. That was the film. They go walking in the woods, they get beat up.
Obviously by him, I'm going to assume.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it must have been, because they were setting up all those stones in the grass, weren't they?
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm gonna beat them up and take their shoes. And I was like, what the fuck? Why are you taking their shoes? Also, that beat 'em up scene was just really fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing about this film. Oh my god, it was like it was just pictures. There's just a lot of pictures and a lot of flashing.
Yeah.
And holy shit, the fucking be warned that maybe like there are some scenes that are they trigger epilepsy. You don't fucking say.
Yeah.
Like,
No
why the fuck have you
kidding.
done that? It's like you didn't need to make it as flashy as you fucking did.
The whole like second half of the film was
It's just flashing fucking lights.
I don't have epilepsy, but I feel like I do now.
Oh god, yeah, it made me feel fucking sick. It was a bit of a headache. It was,
But also felt very like BTech.
Yeah,
Like bits of it filmed on an iPhone clearly.
Oh god,
And then
I
switching
thought
back
that was
to a normal camera. And
Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that because I was like, is this? Because it seemed to be like, whilst they were like, before they got beat up in their tent and had their shoes stolen,
Yeah.
it seemed to be your classic, you know, going into the woods sort of shit. And then it was like, bang, 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 beat up. And it was like, okay, this could be a bit weird.
Yeah.
And then it was like, as he woke up, it was like, shot on iPhone or fucking GoPro or whatever the fuck it was. And I was like, is this a stylistic choice? Have you done this because, like, you know, because it's handheld, it's gritty, you know?
Yeah.
And then it was like, about 2 seconds, and then it was like, oh no, back to your normal camera. And I was like, what? Like, you had the camera. Why didn't you just shoot the fucking shot? Like, I know obviously this was obviously your fucking, your pickups or whatever the fuck it is. You know, when you, after you miss it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so yeah, got beat up. Hauled the guy off of Cruella and Game of Thrones. Honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen him in so much stuff in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, this is the most annoying thing he's in. Because he's shit. He's just a fucking whip. Like, fair play to the girl he's with. What's her name? Alma.
Alma, yeah.
She
was a fucking badass bitch.
Yeah.
She was like, no.
Kind of.
But yeah, also like,
A bit shit as well.
if you want to leave, then just leave. Like,
Very quick to trust this random dude who is just sat in the woods.
yeah. Literally just sat there.
Took you to this dank ass house.
The
with all
night
this,
after you've been beaten the shit out of.
Yeah, and then the next person you see, you're like, oh yeah, we can do some shoes.
Yeah, let's trust him. They were probably their shoes.
You know,
that he
I
gave
thought that's
back
what
to
it was
them.
going to be.
Oh, I've got some shoes that I just happened to stumble upon last night.
Also, his dodgiest fucking shanty ass house. Like, so quick to trust. Fuck that in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
I don't trust anyone. I don't trust anyone now. But, oh my god, yeah.
And then the whole, like, with his foot. And he's like, oh, I need to cut your toes off. Like, what? But
Yeah.
his cut is on the base of his foot, nowhere near his toes. Like, no,
Yeah,
you don't.
I get that. Because
like, see where he's cutting them off, and it's like, why are you making this so funny?
yeah, that one, I was like, I don't know if you're trying to be. I was like, is this intentionally to be funny? Because you're like, you did like what, 3 swings and he kept missing, and he was like, oh stop moving, stop stressing
like,
me out.
That was your fault.
Yeah, and I was like, is he just fucking with it? Is he not going to cut his toes off? And then he just went, done,
Yeah.
cut a toe off.
And then it went.
And, also, what are the fucking chances of him actually being able to develop film in a tent outside in the rain? And also having all the relevant supply, like, and it turns out he's been taking fucking hundreds of pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when they finally break free, and then the fucking, you see all the shit in the woods.
He fucking comes out with his crossbow.
Oh yeah.
I was like, is this funny Hunger Games or that episode of Neighbours? On the
Oh,
island
yeah.
with Finn.
Fucking Palm Springs.
Yeah.
You know, at the beginning.
Yeah.
But oh god, yeah, and then he's forehead's hanging off because he gets hit by. What does he even get hit by?
I don't know. I think
Well, she hits him with all of her with all of his expert photography
his
machines.
his equipment. Yeah.
Yeah, like what?
Like gashed his head open.
Yeah, and then he just like happens to end up in the fucking. Yeah, he runs away, and then he finds the person that he was going to find in the woods. So, because he's a scientist, isn't he? The guy from Cruella. What's his name?
Yeah.
Martin.
Martin. Yeah.
Martin. Yeah, so he's a scientist, and he goes to find his scientist friend, right? And then, because they stopped talking, I think.
Yeah.
Was that the gist of it?
That was it. Yeah. So
They
they've
stopped
been-
talking, and then, oh no, it was later explained that because he had ringworm, and cause trees.
Yeah.
Oh, the film made no fucking sense. So yeah, so they go. Yeah, so we went and so we ran away from this fucking rabid stranger. Well, hobbled away.
Yeah.
The stranger, what's his name? Tyler? No. What's his name?
Martin, Olivia, and I can't remember. What's his
Yeah.
name? Ian?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Was it Ian?
And we look at the hobo dude. The homeless looking motherfucker.
Yeah.
He, doing his best Jack Nicholson in The Shining impression. With fucking
With his axe.
running around with his axe like a maniac.
Dragging it behind him.
And yeah, and then he did all that shit. Stumbled upon a big rock, a bit like in the tall grass, but there was a big rock in that.
Right.
It was basically in the tall grass, wasn't it? But in the forest.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, in the earth. Oh, and yeah, and then they found the doctor, who Martin went in to find, who was the fucking homeless guy's wife,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah.
And they were just like, oh, well, he's only over the hill. He was running away for a very long fucking time to just be over the hill.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, and then, oh, surprise, surprise, she's as fucking batshit crazy as he is. But they both just sort of go along with it.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that, so he turned into a weird cult man. And
But she didn't.
But she didn't.
But she had.
She didn't because science.
Yeah.
She was like, oh no, I'm doing this. He was like, oh, well, I'm going to speak to the demon trees, whatever the fuck it was, through art and pictures. And she's like, no, I'm going to talk through science.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you on about? Because she was like, oh, I'm going to speak to him through science, but I've also found this old witch's spell book.
Yeah. The book is the only way, and it's like, well, that's not very scientific, is it?
What's with all the science? And then this thing that you're saying is like a brain, which I guess, because she was like monitoring the forest, wasn't she? And stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess
like
that
listening
was.
to the trees.
Yeah, and that was like that Mark Wahlberg film, The Happening, whatever it was, where it turned out that the reason everyone was committing suicide is because of the leaves or bees or some shit, I can't really remember. It was basically that. So far we've got The Shining and The Happening, with a little bit of Midsummer chucked in there as well, for good measure. As soon as I saw that image at the beginning, and it was like, oh well, look, here's this deity thing, and then there was these people running around. I was like, so you just tried to copy that title picture from Midsummer, didn't you?
Yeah.
You fuck. And then surprise, surprise, it all goes tits up because the woman who he's gone, was her name Olivia?
Yeah.
She's just got fucking batshit crazy as well. And then they can't leave because the forest won't let them. In one of the most annoying fucking sequences.
Yeah.
And stop it.
No, I need to go to the hospital.
Oh yeah, that would have fucking, yeah, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, no, fuck off, you prick, cut my mate's toes off,
Yeah.
drugged me,
Yeah.
took pictures of me while I was asleep, you weirdo.
Yeah, what the hell? Dressed me up in a weird
Tarpaulin fucking dress. What? I think the thing that annoyed me the most about it was it. You know, you said it felt like a BTech film.
Yeah.
It was written like a BTech film
Yeah.
because it was. You know, there was that line of dialogue where he said, I think it was at the beginning, him and Alma, they were trying to have a conversation, and he went, "Oh yeah, sometimes conversation just ends."
Yeah.
I was like, so you mean you just couldn't think of a conversation for them to have?
Yeah.
And then there was that bit later on where they were speaking to the doctor, and she was like, "Oh, did I not mention that?" And he was like, "No," and he was like, "Oh, well, it's a lot of information." It's like, no, you mean you hadn't thought of it until you got to this point and was like, "Well, shit, I need another reason why I can't leave."
Oh no. Yeah.
Because mushrooms.
Yeah.
What? What?
That's so true.
It's like all this stuff that just, and then all the other shit in the meantime where it was like, I'm not really going to explain it, but then I'm also going to explain it through science where it's a bit complicated, but it's complicated enough that no one's going to ask any questions because it sounds all sciencey.
Yeah, exactly. And people are going to be like, yeah, okay. Like,
Yeah, it felt like a Rick and Morty sort of situation where I was like, well, if we took enough science in this, people won't actually ask the question because we're going to make it seem like we've explained it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
And
like,
we know what we're talking about.
yeah, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? Oh god! And then it was just flashing images for the sake of flashing images, and it was fucking strobe lights.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, well done for writing a film in pandemic, but at the same time, write a better film.
Yeah.
Write a better film. It's
Yeah.
not like if you're gonna do it, why do a shit job? Just do better.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Like, you had the time.
You had plenty of time, and you didn't even write that much because it's not full of dialogue. It's not like Malcolm and Marie, but
It's, yeah.
chock full of dialogue,
Purely like dialogue.
which
isn't
is
it?
just, I mean, obviously Malcolm and Marie is just you fucking written by a director who's had his fucking sick of critics, and was like, you know what I really need right now to fucking vent about critics.
I'm gonna vent through film.
You know what really annoyed me? It took them an hour to get to the doctor,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
there was another 50 minutes.
Yeah.
I looked at my watch and I was like, it's very rare I look at my watch.
I saw you looking at your watch and I was like, oh.
And I looked at it and I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like,
Surely not.
I was like, we've been in here an hour.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I was like, something just happened. And then I was like thinking back and I was like, no, nothing's happened. I was like, he's got his shoes stolen. Oh, and that fucking thing about ringworm as well. Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
We were like, oh, I had ringworm like last week, and then and then at the end she was like, hey, did you have ringworm a week ago? And she was like, yeah, because my husband got it as well, as he just arrived.
So did I.
And then, yeah, there was that little throwaway comment where she was like, oh yeah, the plants and stuff, they want you to...
They're calling you here.
Oh, holy shit. He was going quick.
He's on
Fucking fucking BMW driver, dickhead. But oh my god. Oh, and then you know what really pissed me off right at the end? You know the credits?
Uh-huh.
Performance. Where these people fuck off with your pretentious bullshit. Fuck off. Fuck right off. Like, you thought you were I thought you were done with being your pretentious shit with every time there was a flashing image. All it was, I don't know, what looked like some retinal screening eyeballs.
Yeah.
Some fucking close-up of mushrooms.
Yeah.
Oh, you've shot some rain in slow motion and then sent it backwards. Oh, hello.
Move over.
Checking it out. You didn't record that on your iPhone, did you?
No.
guess from the trailers, probs should have realised that, you know, this wasn't going to be your granddaddy's fucking horror films, was it?
No.
You know? It could have made some fucking sense.
Yeah.
Because then
I was
when fucking, I was like, what was that? You know that one in the woods with about, you know, the boys go in the stag do in the
the ritual.
the ritual. I thought, right, here we go.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be
I was like,
that.
this is. I was like,
I was getting ready to be like.
yeah, I was
throw
expecting.
up.
I was expecting to
It's
feel.
gonna be gross.
Yeah, I was expecting, you know, a couple of spoopy scares. I was expecting a lot of long shots in the old forest where you're like, is that something? And then you see something moving, you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
I was like expecting your Blair Witch, but I mean, it's probably down to me for setting my expectations so high for a horror film to scare me.
to be
Oh,
fair.
oh my god, gotta fucking call me crazy, I know. But
Because from the trailer, that's exactly what it looked like it was gonna be.
and I was expecting some mind-bending shit,
Yeah.
but I wasn't expecting to be so fucking bored.
Yeah. Snooze fest. Absolute snooze fest.
Because it just wasn't tense.
No.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, I probably didn't understand and or get the greater meaning. Well, I feel like the greater meaning was just, okay, yeah, nature is, like, we need to communicate more with nature so we
Yeah.
can live together.
Yeah.
Which she summed up in one sentence
Yeah.
towards the end before
She
the
literally
fucking...
says it, doesn't she?
Yeah, and I was like, okay.
That's
Yeah.
what this greater meaning is then. And what, you
And
know.
then it was, like, it wasn't even a fucking spooky, scary monster.
No.
And I'm
Well,
like,
it was, but we just didn't see it.
yeah, it was like a, yeah.
And then, at the end when she was like, oh yeah, like it's not a thing or a being, it's like a way of life. Whatever she-
Alma, when she dragged
No.
through the fucking...
the,
Oh, that annoyed me.
the doctor lady, she said that the what was it? Pagni,
Yeah, whatever. Fucking stupid.
whatever that was. Yeah, she said, oh, it's not the doctor lady.
Yeah.
Said it's not a being or a thing, it's like a way of life or a way of living or something.
It's a state of mind. It's like jazz.
So just keep mind.
But, yeah, ugh. Yeah, no. Wasn't a fan. Was not.
Disappointed.
Yeah.
Disappointed.
Because I was like, you know, we've watched a lot of horror movies.
We have.
I respect, like,
You know, I don't mind a cliche or a trope or whatever.
they're
or
there
something.
for a reason.
Exactly. And
Like-
if it scares me, I'm like, cool.
Oh,
like,
got me, good one, fair
yeah.
enough. And I'm like, if it doesn't, but it's still got the cliches, I'm like, I'm having enough time because I can see all these cliches. I
I'm
know
well,
what.
you tried, like, you know.
Yeah.
I knew what you were trying to do.
Whereas this was like, I don't know, maybe it was the marketing, maybe it was the trailers, I don't know. Maybe it was this half-baked idea that came about cause COVID, you can tell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the right got bored.
And I feel like the trailers really tried to fucking sell it on the pandemic front, didn't it?
Yeah.
They really fucking tried. Because they made it seem like he was going for a cure or the pandemic was, like I said, I don't know if maybe the pandemic was caused by the plants, but it didn't, because she had that throwaway line where she was like, oh yeah, it's a fucking, this could like reach the whole fucking country,
Yeah.
the whole plants thing, and it was a
Yeah.
bit like, well, is it?
Yeah.
But I'm like, but you two's just gone fucking mental. You haven't. You're not ill. Well, we don't know what the pandemic is. I mean, the pandemic could be fucking murderous. Who knows? But they don't actually say. So who? Like even like a little title card at the beginning. But it was literally just straight. I will admit, I did like the straight in there. There was like all production companies. Boom in the air. Title done.
Yeah.
But as soon as I saw that fucking stone, I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go.
Planting the stones.
Yeah, as soon as I saw them planting the stones, and they were like, oh, I haven't got my shoes. And I was like, well, they're going to fucking step on a stone, aren't they? fucking
coming out.
Yeah, he pulls out an intestine by accident.
Yeah.
Like, oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry there.
I'm like, I feel like when you do horror, you need to have like a protagonist who you sort of want to root for. I just didn't really give a shit about. Like I said, I liked Alma until a point.
Yeah, I gave more of a shit about her.
Yeah, because she seemed to be a bit clued up, and then she just wasn't, and it was like, what?
Yeah,
Like she just wasn't. She was like, oh, and then that whole bit, she was like, oh, I saw this family, and I was like, what? You saw their tent, or
Yeah.
what? Which I guess was the. I don't know if the family had maybe the ones behind the log.
Yeah,
would
maybe.
Put
Yeah.
his hand in the stomach.
Yeah, probably were, to be fair.
But yeah, it was just like, okay, I don't know. It was like, you know, you obviously had rangers. Why weren't any rangers like keeping an eye on these two fucking maniacs who were living in this forest?
Yeah.
Like
the people at the beginning in the hut.
because he literally said to me, he was like, oh, a few months ago there was a couple of crazy people here, and he was like, what?
They're
Why?
still there.
Why didn't you fucking call the police then?
Yeah.
Oh, 15 miles of 30 miles of trees.
Yeah.
Eh? Like, what? Fucking close off the fucking woods then.
Yeah.
Send the police in.
Yeah.
Fucking burn the woods down if you have to.
You know they're there.
Why didn't they try burning the wood down? That would have got rid of the fucking spores and nature.
Well, yeah, but I think they wanted to.
Get out normally.
No, they. Oh, you mean Alma and Martin when they were in there?
You literally.
Yeah, I don't know.
You collected so many fucking fireworks.
They did. so much wood
Also-
for the fire.
You know, right at the beginning when it was like, oh, we've got this spoopy, scary. You know, when it was like, oh, listen to all these bird noises. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like literally like people screaming.
Screeching.
And I was like,
yeah.
this is going to come into play later. And then it was like, oh, did you hear that? I'm like, what? Nothing. They're like, oh, it's because they know people are here. And I was like, well, there goes any premise that you had. Like, there goes like a horror trope, an indicator of something that's not quite right. You're just like, silence, mate. And that was just to cover up the fact that they probably couldn't do any actual any recording that they got in the forest was probably loud as fuck, so they just had to re-record it with like ADR or whatever the fucking you know, when they go to the studio afterwards.
Yeah.
Like they just did that because they were like, oh fuck it, there's no point then.
Yeah.
But it's just like, because when they're like, oh, there's silence in the forest, but there was never really long periods of silence, you know? Because there was never a point where it was like, where it was creepy. Because they were like there on their own.
Yeah.
Because they were already fucking like tied up and shit. And it just seemed like a fucking waste. No, just the silence.
Yeah.
Because he was like, oh, they're so watching us. And then it was like, oh, we met the homeless person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of it then.
Yeah.
So there goes any suspense that, like, you literally had the perfect opportunity to do some suspense and you were like, nah, fuck it. You don't really.
Not today.
Because I've not seen it, because the guy who directed it, I think I remember the trailer, it's like, oh, from acclaimed director. Ben? Something? I can't remember.
I don't know. Can't remember
And I was just like, oh, okay. And I think I remember looking at the time, and I was like, I checked all the other films he'd done. Not really
either.
acclaimed.
Yeah.
Well, like he'd done like a couple of big films. I think he did one with like Tom Hiddleston and all this sort of shit. But then like when you look at like, I know obviously some of this film, like, you know, it's subjective. I'm like, you look at the like user reviews on IMDb and like Metacritic.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the Metacritic is quite often orange. It's not usually an indicator of an acclaimed director.
Yeah.
But I'm like, is it cause he's British and cause he's young? You're just like, oh, it's brilliant. Like, is he just? He seems like a fucking knockoff Edgar Wright. And quite frankly, I don't want to watch any film he ever does again. Because I'm like, if it's this sort of like BTech level bullshit, film student shit that he's just gonna tack on everything,
but it's actually
get fucked. I ain't watching that shit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, do a little sprinkle of that sort of thing. By all means, do it. And just fucking chuck it in.
It was too much.
It literally felt like a third-year film.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we watched a film that was very similar to that at the beginning of third year when they were like, oh, let's look at the ones from last year.
Yeah.
And that felt like one of them. And I was like,
yeah.
Very
And
annoying.
and some of the images look like, when you used to play a song on like song player.
And on like
And
Windows
it would-
Media Player, wasn't it?
yeah,
And it was like,
and it would have all the,
swirly
like,
kaleidoscope
colourful-
sort of shit.
Yeah, like in
Look like
time
that.
with the music.
Yeah. Also, the music. Did you hear that? Like every now and then, it was just like this little bing bong, and it sounded like the beginning of Holby City.
No.
And it was like bing bong, and I was like, this is the weirdest music because it just doesn't go with the rest of the film.
Yeah.
I think that's what pissed me off as well. The sound design just fucked me off.
Yeah.
As you can tell.
It was very loud, wasn't it? I was like, it doesn't need to be this loud and this like invasive.
No.
It's very, yeah.
And I guess, obviously that was the point because it was meant to be like, oh, it's too intense because they're in your brain and it's like, oh, the music's so loud and oh, hypersensitivity stuff. You know what really annoyed me as well? When fucking Alma went through the fucking fog.
Yeah.
And then it was like, there was that clip of her like looking in the mirror and you could see the fact that it was a mirror spinning and you could see the edges of the mirror.
Yeah.
And I was like, it just looks shit. I was like,
Yeah, it did.
I was like, if this was a film student's film, it'd probably get fucking high praise.
Yeah, they would.
But call me old-fashioned. I like my horror films with a scary monster, a couple of cliches, and a couple of good jump scares. Don't get me wrong, I like my Hereditaries, I like my Midsummers. I do like a bit of a suspense one. When it's done well.
Yeah.
This was not done well.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Yeah, you're not normally a fan of like cult films, are you?
No, I fucking hate cults. Cults are scary because they're real.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that shit.
Like Hereditary and
Yeah,
some
fuck
of
that
it. You can
shit.
appreciate, that they are good, well-made films, even if
Because it scares me.
Yeah.
And it keeps me interested.
Yeah.
Whereas that, fuck that. It was
Yeah.
fucking.
Well, like we
It's
said,
not a cult.
like,
Two people.
Like we said, it wasn't really a cult, was it?
Right, let's fucking go.
And there it was, our driving home review. Very interesting. Was it controversial? Possibly. This is pre-recorded, so deal with it. Anyway, thanks for listening. And if you want to get in touch, give us a follow on Insta, Twitter, or give us a like on Facebook, where we're Driving Home Reviews. It'd be great if you could subscribe and leave a nice juicy 5-star review, and maybe I'll buy you a pint. Is this bribery? Probably. But tune in next time for another Driving Home Review. Bye bye!